Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about a Celtic player. We're going to be talking about a certain individual and their future at the club. Now, by the title of the video already, you know exactly who I'm going to be talking about, and by the last few months of my opinions towards this certain individual, you'll know exactly where I stand in the situation. This isn't going to be a massive surprise to anybody when I give my opinion on this. But we're going to talk about it anyway. We're going to try and look at both sides of the situation, the positives and the negatives. Ultimately, we're going to determine whether or not I think it's the best decision for Celtic Football Club. You already know what I'm going to say. Before we go any further with the video, I feel like we may as well, just for a second, as I've got the Scotland top on, talk a little bit about the Euros for a couple of minutes or two, and Scotland's exit from the group stage last night. Look, it was gutting. It was. Ultimately, it was annoying, because we landed ourselves, I think, in a position where hope was high to get it through this group stage. And especially after our performance against England in the second game, my hopes were high that we could do something against Croatia. But, you know, we all said it, and I said it on YouTube as well. I aired my opinion on it. The most important game, the game we had to win, was the Czech Republic. When we went in and got this group, when we were drawing this group, I said there's one game you're guaranteed to pretty much lose there, and for me it was Croatia. That was the game that I thought we would lose. The quality in that team is outstanding, and losing to them yesterday, there's no shame in that. You know, it's a tough team, World Cup runners-up for God's sake, and they've got players like Modric, Kovacic, Perisic, all these guys that are just unbelievable. It was always going to be tough to beat them, but we didn't do it in that first game. It was disappointing. Ultimately, I'm proud of Scotland. I'm proud to be Scottish, and I'm very happy I finally got to see my team perform at an international tournament. I also got a cracking weekend in London into the bargain, but this is there's a long way to go. We're not quite there, and you know, there's a lot of questions being raised on social media as to whether or not Steve Clarke is the man for the job. We're going to talk a lot about that on TSF, so I'll probably keep it out of this channel for now, but yeah, the questions are being raised, and rightfully so. I think, you know, we were questionable. I think we could have done a lot better, and yes, we were really unlucky. I think that luck was not on our side at all in that group stage, but there was questions raised throughout the decisions made by Steve Clarke throughout all three games. I think, well, not so much England, but the other two games, which will haunt him, I think. But we'll come on to that. Look, listen, we made it 23 years and we've done it. We see where we go now. We try and get to Qatar. There's a lot to talk about in that. But there's one guy who will be kicking himself. There is one guy who will be absolutely gutted he wasn't at that tournament to make a difference. Because, hear me right now, for as much as I have been critical and I've been very negative towards this individual for the past year and a bit, he'll be kicking himself he wasn't involved, because he was the kind of player when at his best we needed in that tournament. And I think everybody realises that. As much as you might like him, as much as you might hate him, as much as you might hold a certain opinion of him, when he's at his absolute fittest, there is a player there who could have made a difference in that tournament. That player is Leigh Griffiths, and that's who we're going to talk about today. He will be kicking himself. He said himself he didn't deserve to go to the Euros. He understands that, and that's his own fault, but he's made a mug of himself over the past year, and through that, he cost himself a chance at getting to the Euros, and it started to raise a lot of questions about his Celtic future. We could have been doing that with a player like Griffiths at his best at the Euros just there, and all three of those games. He's the kind of player that, with the natural finishing ability he's got, can make a difference. But he's let himself down, and he's done that through his own doing. The past year, he has been unfit, he's been unready. He has let Celtic down on numerous occasions, and there was no chance Steve Clarke was going to take that player to the Euros. But now we're in the situation, and now we lead into today's video. Should he be given another year at Celtic Football Club? Because by all accounts, it looks as though he's going to get another year at Celtic Football Club. So speaking with some of the press, Leigh Griffiths came out and said, look, to me it feels like a fresh start with the new manager, whether he brings in new staff or not. He phoned me last week and said, I'm keen to work with you, I know what you can do. He wants me to get back to the player I once was. We're looking for a deal, and hopefully it can be done in the next few days. So it all but confirms that Leigh Griffiths will be given a new one-year deal at Celtic. Who knows, might be more, but the one-year extension that is there in his contract will be triggered by the looks of it, rather than being released by the club, which is going to be good news to a lot of people, but for me and a lot of other people, I just feel like it's bad news. There is no denying, and I will never deny that the player that Leigh Griffiths once was, and has the potential to be, but he's not that anymore. That is gone. People still going about this goal-scoring machine. Goal-scoring machines don't produce 7 goals in a league campaign. That is what he gave us last season. Neil Lennon left him out of the pre-season trip because he was not fit enough. And this was after he was given his big chance back in the team, and he took that chance and he grabbed it. Remember the tail end of the 1920 season, Leigh Griffiths linking up front with Odsonne-Édouard. It was absolutely tremendous. He was given that chance. He revitalised his career from a point where it looked as though there was no coming back at Celtic. But he took the chance. We put faith in him and we gave him that opportunity. He took it, but he threw it away. And it was only the first time of throwing it away last season. He was continuously unfit. He was unready in the biggest season in Celtic's modern existence. Ultimately, he was part of the big problem there is at Celtic Football Club with fitness, with, I would say, attitude. He's part of that. He let the team down last season and people failed to realise that. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, he's scored 120 goals for Celtic or whatever. 120 goals. A third of those goals, a third of them, came in one season that was 6 years ago. Now, say what you like about a player who scored 40 goals in one season, not taking that record away is absolutely tremendous. It was 6 years ago. There is still a point where no matter how many goals you've scored, no matter how much great service you've given to a football club, where you are finished. And for me, Leigh Griffiths is finished. He's not produced numbers like that in a long time. And these issues and letting down the team are not new. They're not something that just occurred in the last 6 months to 12 months. That's not new. It happened as soon as Brendan Rodgers came in the door. It happened throughout the entirety of Brendan Rodgers' time at the club, and it happened at Neil Lennon's time in the club, and of course, most prominently, the past season, where he wasn't anywhere to be seen, and we didn't have him there in the team. 7 goals. I'm also seeing people pointing out these minutes, they're like, oh, goals per minute and all that stuff. No wonder. He's barely played any minutes. Yes, he would come on and he would maybe give us a goal, but there was still so many times when he came on and he looked gumph. He looked done in. He just didn't look fit enough to be a Celtic player. That is the problem. The standards of professionalism at Celtic Football Club have dropped dramatically, severely, since the departure of Brendan Rodgers. And one of the main culprits of that, if not the main culprit of that, is Leigh Griffiths. This is the standard. There's a reason he has the name Tea Cake. The standards have dropped significantly. Look, I wish for nothing more than Leigh Griffiths to go on and get a career where he can revitalise himself and be a goal scorer again. But I don't believe Celtic Football Club is the place to put that risk. This is thousands of pounds a week we're giving to a player who offered us nothing last season. Absolutely nothing. And we are prepared to do that again. Now, I want to sit on this chair and believe what Leigh Griffiths is saying about revitalising himself once again and paying back the club and working for a fresh start under Ange Postecoglou. I want to sit here in this chair and believe that, but how many times should you accept it? How many times should you say, yeah, let's do that again, because this has happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. This has happened several times, and sometimes several times over the course of one season. Now, if it wasn't Leigh Griffiths, if this was Odsonne-Édouard, the reaction from some of our support would be entirely different. I can guarantee that. There is this attitude that because he's Scottish, that we should give him this chance after chance after chance. If it was Odsonne-Édouard, if it was another Frenchman, if it was anybody else, I don't think the club would be as forgiving. They would say he doesn't care. They would say he's not thankful for the opportunity, and they would want him out the door at the first opportunity. That's my honest opinion. And it's a lot of people's opinion. It's thousands of people's opinion. It's not like I'm creating a narrative here. This is what a lot of people believe, and I firmly believe that opinion. It would be completely different if it was someone else at the club. It would be completely different if it was any other player but Leigh Griffiths. There has almost become this sort of mentality that Griffiths should be all forgiven at all times just because he scored a lot of goals in the past. Now, a lot of players have scored a lot of goals in the past, but they're still done. Chris Commons was a marvellous player for Celtic, scored goal after goal after goal for a long time, but when it came to 2016-17, none of us wanted him back in the team. We all wanted him out the door because he was done. Leigh Griffiths has fitness issues that are going to take a while to recover from, and quite frankly, we don't have the time. We've got a whole fitness overhaul to go through, and I think that just keeping Griffiths there is not the right idea. I keep seeing people saying, but if he stays fit, he'll be the best goal scorer in the country. He can't get fit, never mind stay fit. That's the issue. It's not the issue of staying fit, it's getting fit. He's had years to do this now, and it's not happened. And I just don't understand why so many people still think that there's this world-class goal-scoring player there who's scored 7 goals last season. He's not hit double digits, I believe, in a league season since 2017. I don't know what people are reading into here. As I said, a third of his goals came 1 year, 6 years ago. We've got to get over this impression that he's the best thing since sliced bread. We've not been given that in such a long time. I don't like agreeing with Neil Lennon. I don't like agreeing with Neil Lennon at all, but he was on BBC this morning, I believe it was, and he says he thinks the ship has sailed for Griffiths. Now, that's saying a lot. If the guy who's been coaching him for the last 2 or 3 years has came out and says he thinks the ship sailed. He let Neil Lennon down. Neil Lennon let us all down. I'm not for a second here backing up Neil Lennon, but he's came out and said that, and that's the guy who's been training him and working with him for the last 2 years. I'm inclined to agree with Neil. I just think that ship has sailed for Celtic. He's not the calibre, the quality of player that we can afford to keep on at the club at the moment. There's always this, it's a sensitive issue talking about Leigh Griffiths. It always seems like that on this channel because there's always a portion of the people in the comments who want to die by Leigh Griffiths' side. They'll back him till the very bitter end. And I understand that. He's the kind of character, the kind of player that people have liked because he's always been sort of in and about with the crowd and just, very sort of charismatic, and he's the kind of guy you want to see succeed. I understand that, and I'd never wish failure upon Leigh Griffiths. Not for an instant would I want that. As I said, I hope that he goes on through his career and improves and gets fit and goes to score goals. I just don't feel like it should be Celtic Football Club that now give him that chance, that sacrifice the chance of signing someone else and improving somebody or giving somebody else a chance. I think it should go elsewhere and do it. I just feel like it is silly after the amount of opportunities that he's threw back in Celtic's face for us to do it once more. And that's it. That does it with the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's always a divisive issue when it comes to Leigh Griffiths, but look, I'll put it this way. I have made this exact video, I think, 3 or 4 times on this channel. That's 3 or 4 times too many for me. I have had this exact conversation about Leigh Griffiths 3 or 4 times. And I've also had the same video 3 or 4 times when I've came and went, oh, maybe Griffiths is back. He scored. Maybe he's back. And he's not been back. He's scored and then he's dropped off again for 3, 4, 5 weeks. That happens far too frequently for someone who we are considering to play at our top level. Not for me, sadly. Not for me. Like and subscribe. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. I'll see you all next time.